last 4 or 5 years since I have been in classes and been more intentional with my work, I have almost as many unfinished paintings as I do finished paintings. And I feel like it's just a part of the process sometimes where you start something. I try to keep multiple works going at one time, and so I'll start a work and then I will be bouncing around between different paintings, and sometimes I just don't return to that painting. And canvases take space in the studio, and it always sits in the back of my mind, the ones that I haven't finished. And so I thought, let's sit down today and actually challenge myself to start going through them and finishing them. And one thing that I was advised to do back when I was in classes was to sometimes just sit, analytically look at them, write down a list of the things that need to get done. So that is what I'm going to do here with you today, is sit. I have 3 paintings that I've chosen to start with. I'm going to start with the one that I think is going to take the least amount of time, and it's this orchard. I was at like this cidery. I started painting it, and then I was trying to be really deliberate about my color choice and really deliberate about not making it too bright. I think sometimes I've had a tendency to make my paintings really bright, and I don't think that's bad. There's nothing wrong with that. But I kind of wanted to try and make things a little bit more toned down in this painting. And so like the sky color here is a pretty pale blue. It's not very vibrant. And then, you know, I really tried to just build it up slowly. I started with the underpainting. I'm pretty happy with the top portion, the clouds. It's very much just a suggestion of clouds. It's not very detailed, but I kind of like that because I think in the foreground, I'm going to build out these colors a little bit more and build out some more definition. So it doesn't really matter if there is a little bit of lack of detail in the background. It's very faint right here, and I can put up a picture of what it looked like before, but there was this muddy road that like all of their farm equipment would take. And so then I was painting it, and then I got to this place where I just didn't like it anymore. And so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna paint over this and I'm just gonna start fresh. And I tried a few different things, and then I painted over that. And at that point I was like, I can't, I don't know where this is going anymore. So the foreground is really what I've struggled with. And then looking back at the picture of what it looked like before I painted over it, it was fine. I mean, it could use a little work. It could maybe use a little bit of balancing, but like, I kind of like it actually in the end. So I think that this is highlighting one of my very common problems, that I just sit and I stare at what I'm doing, and I don't always take a step back and give it a break before I overwork it. And so I do tend to overwork my paintings. My list, I have bring the road back, add some definition to the trees, create some definition in the mud and in the grass. I would like to add some flowers back into the painting. There was a bunch of yellow, probably just dandelions, but still pretty, okay, on the right here, and it was lovely, and it made me really happy to see. They could have been buttercups. I actually think they might have been buttercups, or maybe they were a mixture. I don't know. I don't want to go yellow though. I think that I want to go white. I have another painting, and was this beautiful day in Eastern Washington, and it was like the beginning of summer and kind of the end of spring, maybe June. I think it was June, and there was these beautiful white flowers on the side of the road looking off. I keep looking above the camera because I can actually just bring it down. It was so beautiful, and it was this clear, gorgeous day, and then all of the farmland and it was divided by all these little bushes and trees. This is still one of my favorite paintings, and this one I did a long time ago, kind of earlier on in my painting journey. And I've always loved the white flowers. Anyway, so white flowers maybe in the side here, just as a little reference back to this painting. I think that would be beautiful. Okay, next painting. I need to add color. This is the underpainting. I don't often do black and white underpaintings. I will usually do like a red oxide or a like burnt umber, kind of brown warm undertone. This one, I don't know, I was just feeling the grayscale. The reference image, the vase is like a blue, like a pretty bright blue, and then this is a sunflower here, so that's very bright yellow. I don't know if I'm actually gonna paint them that color. I haven't decided yet. My first thing I'm gonna do is just start to bring color in. I don't think I'm going to make it any more detailed of a composition at this point. Like, I don't think I'm gonna go back in with black and white and, you know, further render anything in this yet. I think I'm just gonna go in with color from here. I need to pick and choose what detail to leave as a suggestion. Some of these flowers I'm going to add a little bit more detail to, and some of them I'm going to let just be a brush mark or whatever. And then I want to think about the background here. The reference image is nothing beautiful. It was taken on my husband's desk and with his like computer stuff behind it and everything. So we have to get creative on like exactly what it's going to be. Again, I also think that's just going to be a suggestion of a flat plane that it's sitting on. I want this to be soft. I want it to be nice. I don't need it to be super detailed. I just want it to feel done, you know? And then finally, we're gonna go on to this painting of the golden retriever. This is a family member's dog. And this one is the one that I went into with the most inspiration and trajectory, which is what I think is actually gonna make it the most difficult. I think technically I'm gonna have more of a difficult time with the flower painting, but this painting, I think that there's more of a chance that I'm gonna get in my head about what it should look like versus what it's just going to look like. I would put in some reference images of the inspiration I found, but I couldn't find the artists for the paintings that I was taking inspiration from, so I don't want to put those up, but I'm sure if you just looked up on the internet or on Pinterest or whatever, like oil paintings, dogs, or whatever, something would come up that is basically what I wanted to do with this. Honestly, the image that I have of it on my iPad here is like way brighter than what it actually is in real life. So like on here, if I was looking at this image, I would say that the shadows need to go darker, but then seeing it in person, the shadows are pretty dark, which is good. I want this left side of the face to be very much in shadow, and then this right side of the face it has the light from the window coming onto it. This whole side of the face has to be lighter in value than this whole side of the face, and I really want to make sure that that comes through. And so I have to think about that. I have to rethink some of these proportions. I think the nose is wonky. It's wrong as far as what it should actually look like. I feel like the quality of the brushwork could really use some work. I think it's a bit streaky in some places, so I really want to be more thoughtful about mixing on my palette and applying to the canvas. At the stage that it is now, I'm noticing some spots that just seem streaky. They don't seem very solid. So after I do the proportions and fix the nose, I think the background needs to be lightened a little bit. Looking back at my reference image, the background is pretty obscure, and I want to make it obscure in this. I don't think the background matters really at all, but it was a little lighter, and I think that it could be a little lighter. Again, the quality of the brushwork in here is, you know, so. And then once I do that, just bring in the highlights, push back some of the shadows. I need to add some selective detail then after that. Like, I really don't want to overwork it. This is actually just you coming along with me trying to figure out how to not overwork a painting, because I still don't know how to do that sometimes. It's hard. It's really hard, especially when you don't have somebody sitting right here saying like, stop, don't do anything else. And so we're gonna finish these paintings. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen today. we'll see how this goes. But let's get started. Okay, in the spirit of not going too far, I have changed up the color palette a little bit here, kind of cooled it down. I remember the day was pretty cloudy and like more overcast, so I kind of liked the idea of making the greens softer. I think I've been sitting here trying to problem solve all this brushwork and feels like it feels pretty messy to me right now, but I think there's a few things we could do to just make it better pretty instantly. And I think that it really will come down to just definition. I think bringing some darker details around the edges of this road. I'm thinking maybe smoothing out some of that and then bringing some detail to the foreground. And then just like stepping back from it. Not really satisfied with these trees. We'll see what we can do about it. I'm gonna try and just add a few extra little like plants and try and make them like look like plants and see if that helps. Like see if bringing in some recognizable features will get me somewhere, because I feel like I've been sitting here adding colors and moving them around, but I don't feel like I've made progress since adding the colors. I think since I've added the colors and changed the palette, I've been staying at the same level of progress, just moving the elements around and not progressing into a stage where I feel like it will be finished. So let's see if we can make those changes and then I'll reassess. right, here's what I ended up with for the first one. It's definitely very different than what I had initially painted, but I think that it turned out really nicely. I really like the meandering path, a little bit more movement than the straight lines that I had originally in the painting. I think my favorite part of it is the little flowers. It's a very subtle difference, but just the little squiggly stems and the little petals peppered throughout the grass. I think it looks a lot more lush and a lot more beautiful than it had before. So I feel confident about this one. We're doing good so far. I think this only took me like an hour and a half to do. So we are on track. Let's go to the next one. Tragedy has officially struck. Okay, I have a confession to make. This is my 4th video like on this channel, and I have been filming on my phone because I just didn't know like how serious I was gonna be about making these videos and all that stuff. So we do have a video like camera, but I wasn't gonna bring it out until I felt like it was time. I was just gonna do it all on my phone and then I was gonna change it. But I've already had a couple different instances where it either died on me, and now the storage ran out right as I was filming the second painting, and so I don't have any footage from that second painting, which is a shame because I felt like it would have been a fun one to watch. I really like the way that it turned out, and I'm gonna show you right now. All right, we're still gonna walk through what I changed about this flower painting because I really like the way that it turned out. As you can see from the initial painting that I had done, there was a different filler plant that was kind of in the top portion. And I decided that I liked the composition better if I just continued those little trumpet-shaped flowers up and around to create this like circle shape with the implied lines there. And I just felt like that was a little more satisfying to me, a little easier to paint as well. I felt like the greenery that was there before was just a bit too busy, so I am happy with the new version of the composition. I also really liked the vase, how it turned out. I was a little bit nervous going into painting those blue painted details on the vase because I thought, how am I going to make this look right while the painting's sort of stylized, it's not perfectly rendered, and so I was a little bit worried about how such a detailed vase would look in a not very highly rendered painting, but I felt like it turned out well. I like the highlights in the middle. Yeah, I would say that this one is an overall success. Next time, I'm gonna just be using this video camera to record everything, and hopefully it will be a little bit more predictable than my phone from now on. So sorry about that, but here's the painting and we can move on to the final painting, which is the painting of the golden retriever, and I'm really excited about this one. Okay, why does this kind of feel like a crazy moment for me? This is like, I'm actually looking into a camera and not my iPhone, so that's kind of crazy. Let's see if we can make this work. Wait, this is so cool. I should have just done this from the beginning. For some reason, I didn't. And that's on me. That's okay. finally, we have finished our last painting of the day. I actually was able to finish all of these in one day, which it really goes to show how a mental block can really stop you from doing work. You know, I was so stuck on the 3 of these, and I had them sitting around in my studio for months. Who would have known I could have just finished them in an afternoon and been satisfied with what I had done? But here's the final painting of Ollie, the golden retriever. I really like the way that he turned out. I think that he looks so soft and fuzzy. I like his little eyebrows. I changed his nose up a little bit. I still don't think that it's the perfect shape, but it is better than it was before. I also was really excited when I put the darker details in around his eyes, and it just made them pop so much more. I hadn't realized how flat the composition was until I added in that little bit of detail with the darkening of the eyes and the brightening of the highlights. So that was a pretty exciting moment for this painting. And again, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. All right, there we have it. We are finished with all 3 paintings. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. I hope that you come back next time. I feel like I definitely will do another video like this at some point. I have more paintings to finish. And so if you liked this format, let me know, and I will see you next time.